Hello and welcome to Tuesdays with Dahi and Maura. I'm Maura. No, we are Paper Tuesdays. Welcome to Paper Tuesdays with Michael Dwyer, Mark Halpin.
Hello
Michael.
there, nice of you to join us. How are you keeping?
Fantastic.
We've got we'll go to Parish of the Week, Mark. Would you like to hear?
Yeah.
We're going a bit different this week. We're going new to the parish. Abdullah Afghan and Fatima Abdullah. They arrived from Afghanistan via Pakistan and they're new to the parish in Bettystown, County Meath. And Bettystown, County Meath is Parish of the Week. So
fantastic.
Yeah. This is a bit of a different story. I was just taken by I didn't send you the photo of them, Mark. The children are as cute as anything now. Butter wouldn't melt in their mouths. But what I just found aghast that, this man, he wakes up in Bettystown, County Meath. He drives an hour and a half to Craigavon in County Armagh, where he works as a doctor. Then he drives back in the afternoon or in the evening or whatever. But like, their story is gas how they ended up in Dublin. Like he would have ended up working as a doctor in Mayo for a little while, and the fact that they were born in Pakistan and they end up in Armagh, it's quite the life story for me anyway. What do you make of it?
It is. And how did they make it into the paper? Surely
because they're new to the parish. Just the fact that it's a feature in the Irish Times. So just that they live and they exist, and that's worth it.
Slowing down. Foreigners.
Oh dear, but they've all got COVID, Mark.
Jesus.
Yeah, and they were worried. But this is the thing now, right? They like being in Ireland, and they like how Ireland is a good place for their children because they're living in a good country and living the best life a child could have, and they're safe here. All very good and positive, and that they hope they know Irish citizenship will help their children build a bright future. What I'd like to see the Bettystown community get behind them now that they saw them in the paper, because I kept thinking, what will happen to the children if we both have to go to hospital? We didn't have any support around us. That was really hard. And it made me think, I know we're in the pandemic, so we can't really have much support, but like, isn't there a pity that there isn't an old GA club that go up to Abdullah and help the children, or I don't know. What do you think now?
Yeah, well, do they play the GA, the two?
No, I don't think they do. So maybe they need to start playing GA. Is that what?
Yeah, they're still waiting on the transfers to come in from Pakistan from their last club. But yeah, I don't know. Would it be the GA that look after him? Creches?
No, but
maybe?
creches, yeah. But like, I'm sure you could get a babysitter. But I mean, like, that community support is as in, like, if I expect now if you're in a bit of bother, your GA club should help you out.
Yeah.
I don't know how. Like, I just think people are there and they'll help you out. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, you have to ask for help as well.
Yeah,
you can't just sit and wait or like shout help.
So maybe Abdullah needs to like talk to his neighbours or what?
Yeah, get to know your neighbours or whatever, I suppose. But yeah, they probably don't have cousins or like aunties or uncles. It is strange, like. If you were to go somewhere new and like it's just strangers and you can't just walk up and like, here, will you mind this?
We both got COVID. Did your perception of COVID change after having it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I'm not a COVID denier, but I found it easy. Like, it didn't affect me. Obviously, it affects different people in different ways, and people have obviously gotten very sick of it. But like, I was more afraid of it than what I got. Do you know? The bark was worse than its bite for me. Like, I genuinely, I wasn't like, like fucking sanitizing everything the whole time and like being terrified of it. But when I got it, I was like, it's not that bad. Like,
right.
For me, for a young, healthy person, I think for most healthy people, it's not something to worry about, really.
Yeah.
Unless you get a really bad strain of it or whatever. But
did you see that video, antiviral? No, that was stark. Now, was this? There was this 17-year-old, 50-year in school or something, and he's discovered the clot in the lung, and he was healthy. He ate well. He was went for walks and all. So he's had 3 different health episodes that ended up in this hospital. Only one of them was COVID. Like, the first one was COVID, and then these 2 things have followed on. It's just mad. Yeah, they imagine it's the result of it. Yeah, it's a really unpredictable one. But anyway, Bettystown, County Meath, they can rejoice that they are Parish of the Week in the hope that they will reach out to Abdullah and the children there. So fair play to Bettystown.
Namaste.
Now, College Tribune, Mark, Old Man Belfield. This is the story on him.
Oh yeah, go on.
Yeah,
I know this fella, even not being a UCD student previously myself.
Yeah,
but I think everyone would sort of know him.
Yeah, exactly.
Our age, anyway. I don't know if you know people who went to UCD, you know about the Belfield. What's his name?
Old Man Belfield.
Old Man Belfield.
Yeah. Michael
Batman
is
would
his
have been
first.
better.
Belfield Batman. But he died there, obviously, recently, a month or two ago. But what I like about the UCD College Tribune's paper there, and Conor Caplis, the senior reporter there, he dug out a source there for someone who was saved by Old Man Belfield back in the 1990s. Art student Gisela Scanlon was making her way through Belfield's campus, and it was a wet and windy night, and then she was attacked by a tall, dark-haired man. The guy came out of nowhere, and he wrapped his arms around her and like a rugby tackle to the ground. So then Old Man Belfield just happened to be there, dashed in, saved Scanlon, and dragged the guy off him, threw him to the side, and didn't say anything, just helped him up. Didn't throw any punches. What I like about it is it was all very silently done, like a Zen Buddhist, and the attacker didn't fight back and just scampered away into the night. There was a lovely tribute to him, and the fact that the woman herself now serves as president of Trinity Graduate Students Union, and since that day has always prioritized safety for everyone on campus, because she doesn't want anyone to be in a situation where there is no Michael. So isn't it gas how this man, he was a homeless man, and he was just, he had a heart that was large, very big.
Fearless.
Yeah.
Like, and he was offered, wasn't he, like accommodation in UCD and wouldn't take it?
Yeah.
Because did he like being homeless? Did you ever speak to him when you were up there?
No, but he didn't want to be. You knew he didn't want to be spoken to. Like,
Yeah.
he just wanted to go about his life. Like he, she a few 3 years later, or 3 years ago, she met him on a bus. And she says, "You probably don't remember me," but and told her the story. And then he said, in a very pronounced Dublin accent, similar to Ronnie Drew, "There's no need to be saying anything like that. These things happen." Like, you know, and that was the end of it then, you know. So it's gas. It's
And he died recently, was it?
Yeah, only February, on the grounds of UCD. So yeah, the university has now set up the Michael Byrne Community Fund, which will support scholarships for underrepresented students with socioeconomic disadvantages, community initiatives at UCD, and an annual student award that recognise community building. So there you are now.
That's cool, isn't it? How random it was that like a homeless man can now have his own like piece of history in the school. And like, what did he do all day when he was in UCD? Walked around. And he didn't talk to people.
No.
Like Flood when he was in UCD. Sorry, James. I know all James Dunn was talk. Yeah, so they're now taking CVs for the next homeless man. No, don't send them CVs.
Mark, have you seen this? I love dogs, really. Well, only recently I've just realised how cute.
When you look at pictures.
I was there on YouTube. I was trying to find the picture of the dog, and there, look what comes up. Marty Whelan. Shout out to Bree Brown, who showed me how amazing Marty Whelan is. You should go on to his Twitter page at Marty Lyric FM. That's one with the polo neck. And in the leather today.
A classic, timeless.
Yeah. Look at how he's taking that. Do you think he sets the timer up now? 5.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh, I can't find the dog, but it's a cute Burmese mountain dog, and it's a puppy in training, and he's 5 months old, and this is the president's latest addition to the dog. Mishnok is the name of the president's dog. I just think this is amazing. Bernese mountain dogs are very cute as well, aren't they?
They're beautiful. Very nice dogs. So the president's moved on. He had 2, was it? And one died. So now he has a puppy and a large.
Yeah.
And the large one is a male, or is he going to make more?
I don't know.
Do you reckon he could sit on the back of it? On the big dog. How cool would that be if, like,
oh wow,
Micheál Martin was giving another speech about another lockdown, and then Michael Lee rides in on his dog and goes, "Enough! Out, Micheál, out! Open the pubs." He slaps the dog on the arse and rides off.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love Barney's
yeah.
Mountain Dogs as well. They're so nice.
Yeah.
But I'd like the shed is another thing.
Oh yeah.
So you'd wonder, like, does the president show up with dog hair all over his suit to the UN meetings? Go there, Michael D from Ireland, covered in dog hair, sitting at the children's table.
Isn't it a unique side though? I like that quality though about our country, the fact that we get a sense of our spirit is stirred by the fact that our president has a new dog.
Yeah,
it's a simple delight.
Yeah, whereas like America is like so up in arms or whatever.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, he got a new dog. And it's like, he's the worst thing that's ever happened in the world.
Actually, I think I was going to treat this as a story. One of our TTPs is about Alec Baldwin quitting Twitter. You can't do irony on Twitter. You can't do any irony in the United States anymore because the US is such an uptight, stressed out place and such an unpleasant place right now. There's a lot of charged energy in that, I think.
Yeah. I was listening to somebody talk the other day. I think it was Jordan Peterson on his daughter's podcast. And he was saying they were talking about Twitter with two hard T's in the middle. And they were saying that like what Twitter is so negatively charged because he was reckoning it could be because of the character count is so short that you have to get an impactful message away straight across. There's no room for nuance. There's no room for compassionate soliloquy or like slow times of trying to get your point across slowly or gently across to someone. It's like, bang, here you go, take that. 180 characters. So it all sounds aggressive and then people respond aggressive and then it gets out of hand. Like, Jesus, I have been off it for a long time, but I went on because of that thing I seen on Twitter, the fella from 2FM who is in a bit of hot water over something. But I went on and everything is awful. Like everything's like, bang, 10 of the worst words in a row, follow his name followed by like, now, obviously, whatever, if he has done what he's done, it's completely wrong and horrible. But he hasn't been charged with anything. Yeah. Nobody knows he's done anything, right? This could all be made up. It was on a Reddit post that this was put up. And yet you go on to Twitter and hundreds of tweets just with absolute fucking, there's a bad word, defamities, just destroying this fella's name. Like, and now if he has done it, he deserves it. If he hasn't, like, he has a family. Like, his mother could read all that shit that's being said about him. Do you know? Yeah. And it might not be true. And like it's happened to people like around Brian Callen in America, and he get done for like he was like trying to be cancelled or whatever. Now he's back doing podcasts and stuff, and he's been cleared of all these charges, but he's been accused of all this horrible shit that he didn't do. It was just made up for people for this cancel culture thing, and it could have destroyed him. But he just said, "No, I'm not going down like that," and he fought it and he cleared his name through all of it. So that could be the case here again. And it like we shouldn't jump the gun and just say horrible things about people because people are people as much as you're people, you know, like treat other people the way you want to be treated. If you were in that situation, like if you've done it, you deserve it. But if you're innocent, wait until they're proven guilty. To, you know, trial by social media is dangerous.
Yeah. That's I'd say that's something that's kind of been built up in you know, because you see it so often, like it's almost a daily occurrence to see who's next really on the slab of social media. Something that's a good impression there from Peterson on Twitter, because it peels it back for me anyway, because what I get in a habit of, you see one tweet that you don't agree with, then you read the next one and you still don't agree with that, and it's a visceral chain that just gets out
anger. Anger, and you read more tweets and you get angrier and angrier. Yeah. Like that's why I was doing Twitter. I was like, that's stupid, and then I read another one like, that's fucking stupid too. I was like, that's even more stupid than that one. That guy's probably not that bad now. Like it was just a vicious circle. It's like a fucking angry machine.
Yeah, let's lighten the mood here. What have we got here? Oh, maybe my dark addiction. White fruit soda bread. Mark.
White fruit?
Or, well, white soda bread.
Yes.
And there's raisins in it. Oh, Mark.
It's got cocaine.
I'm addicted.
Who makes it?
I buy it in Pettits.
Okay.
And it's $2.40. But, Mark, a loaf. It could be gone in 48 hours.
A loaf?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And do you toast it?
No.
No. It's just,
and I have developed a thing with butter that you don't eat butter in this world, and I don't take butter, so I just eat it plain.
Yeah, raw, Jesus. It's like eating fucking, what's it called? Aero board. Bread with no butter is insane. I'd be the opposite. I drink butter. I actually do drink butter. I put butter in my coffee. I think there's butter in that. Yeah, see little bubbles in that. That's butter. I put butter in my coffee.
And is this for calories?
Yeah, calories, and I think butter is good for you. Like fat is good for you. So I dipped my before you came, I was eating dark chocolate dipped in coconut oil. I was just scooping the like, proper fucking indulgence. Like I was like
indulgence, but there's a purpose for, like, because you have to eat at the moment. Watch this space at Mark helping fit because you
fatness.
Because you have to eat a certain amount. Does it kind of take the pleasure? You know, it becomes a responsibility rather than
with certain meals. Like I eat a lot. I eat close to a kilo of mince most days of beef, and that's kind of hard. It gets tiresome, but like I don't get tired of like butter and stuff like that. I just don't. I love it.
See, I gave up dark chocolate for Lent, and I'm going very well now, I have to say. I'm surprised because I used to treat that as a judge, but I find the human being incredible because, you know, I had no addiction to soda bread before Lent, but now I'm addicted to soda bread, so I kind of have to stop eating soda bread.
I'd try like a chocolate then instead to replace the soda bread, and then cocaine to replace the chocolate, murder to replace the cocaine.
So now we've no resolution really. I think I should just stop eating the soda bread.
Yeah, is there gluten? Sorry, is there gluten in soda bread?
Is there flour? Is gluten flour?
Depends. You can get gluten-free flour.
Oh no, there's gluten in it then. Yeah.
I don't like. I would have been one to say. I've said it before on the podcast. I think actually of like, you know, your gluten intolerance is sort of in your own head or whatever. But sorry, I had to pop my ears there. Shane's girlfriend Roisin drinks almond milk Baileys because there's dairy in the regular one. So if you're drinking alcohol and you're worried about the milk more than the alcohol of the effect that it's going to have on you the next day, there has to be something real there. Do you know?
Yeah. Right. That's an interesting one now.
Yeah. So
there Speaking of interesting one, would an alien invasion put an end to racism?
Yeah. I heard this as well on another podcast. I actually can't remember what one this was on, but so my GA club is playing your GA club. Fuck you, I'm the best. My team, your team, over there. Wexford are playing Dublin.
Right.
We're together.
Okay, right.
Dublin.
Right.
Over there. Ireland are playing England. We're with Dublin against England.
Yeah.
Countries, Europe, fucking the Ryder Cup, whatever. So if we...
Political geography with Mark.
The moon. It's going to be like the world, the moon. All the aliens up there. That's how we end racism. We start a war with the
We've had the war on terror. We don't need it. War on lunar.
Not the war on drugs. Not the war on terror. War on the moon. We're having a press conference for the war on the moon, and Dana White is going to be in the middle.
Well, you're mad. I think if we ever need to have a confrontation with the aliens, we should send up Adam. You know the way
Adam Spencer.
No, well, we could send Adam with the cute little child with the brittle bone syndrome.
I haven't. I only see clips of this.
I didn't see it. Oh, he's very cute. He's only. I don't know how high he is, but he was very well dressed on the Late Late Show last night, and he's raised thousands of euro for charity. And anyway, he wants to be an astronaut, and he knows that if they remade the suits, they could send him to space as well. So maybe he could have a discussion with the aliens because it comes across quite eloquent.
So it's just the fact that the suit's too big for him.
Yeah,
it's the only reason we can't talk to aliens. We can make rocket ships and do all this astrophysics, but we can't make a small fucking astronaut suit. Come on, people. Fianna Fáil's fault.
Priority. So, but do you think aliens? Okay, two questions. One, do you think aliens exist? Two, would they end racism?
I think aliens do exist. There's a lot of evidence coming out that
Whoa.
I haven't looked at the evidence, but I see a lot of being shared. Aliens do exist. That Bob Lazar documentary, have you seen that?
Is that the fella who's very well dressed? It's all about being well dressed, really. He
Oh
was on Joe
no,
Rogan.
I think that's Lex Friedman you're thinking
Yeah,
of.
I think so. Yeah,
He's
yeah,
very
yeah.
smart as well. But this
Right.
Bob Lazar guy, you'd want to watch his interview with Joe Rogan and then his documentary about him and his work in Area 51, because aliens are definitely real. And I think the White House admitted this year that aliens are real. I think octopuses might be aliens.
Whoa. Okay.
Right.
Go on.
Just because the way they act is so strange to anything else that's on this world. And if you watch My Octopus Teacher, they're very intelligent too.
Right.
So I think they could be some form of alien.
Did you know they have more than one brain? I think
Octopuses.
Yeah.
It's so strange. And jellyfishes have no brain.
Oh.
I think their nervous system is spread out through their entire body. It's not in one specific location.
Oh wow. That's interesting.
Also, another interesting point to think about. Your brain isn't only in your head. Your nervous system goes down your spine. Your brain is actually in your spine, your central nervous system. So, mobility.
Marfaz being feedless.
So another thing. So you think aliens? I listened to Elon Musk's interview with Joe Rogan. I think it's only a few weeks old. And Joe asked him, "Do you think aliens exist?" And he said, "No. But if they do, it's new evidence, and we'll adapt to it then." It's just very rational approach to it. Anyone else might be going to bed.
Well, he'd be the first man they go to as well.
Yeah,
aliens aren't going to come to us. Definitely going to Elon Musk first.
I find him gas because you can tell he's almost like a politician in that he goes on Joe Rogan because he has a point to say. So he had a few things to say, So yeah, everyone could have Wi-Fi because we're going to put satellites in space and we're just going to give Wi-Fi to everyone. We need to see, like he has a few things and, that's the discussion. So it's like catch up with Elon,
Keeping up with the Musks. What's his daughter is like 10 multiplied by 4 or something.
Yeah. I could not get over that. Really.
How do you pronounce it?
Well, that's the question. Yeah.
Algebra. That's what he just calls her.
Algebra. Come in for your dinner. Berlin Wall. Great Wall of China. Trump's Wall. Walls are stupid because we have planes. I love that.
That was more of just a thought than a TTP, but I said I'd send it to you anyway. Like, there was definitely planes in World War II.
Yeah.
That's just a fact. Bombs fell out of them. So like, why were we building walls when we have planes? It's like, can I come in here? It's like, I'll just go over it. Like, if you really, if you were trying to keep out the enemy, they're the enemy. A wall like fucking 20 foot high isn't going to keep them out. Like, they can throw stuff over it. Like, yeah, that was sort of my point. And in this day and age, Trump building a wall. Did he build it?
I don't know. What I found gas was there was a fence already there.
Was there? And he just started to build a wall around it. Like,
he was kind of like saying, we need a stronger fence. We need a wall.
That's why he was in Boland's in Arklow. Cement.
Texas reopening.
Texas reopened.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I'm not surprised. I think it's gas.
Yeah, I'd love to live there. Love to
really
live in Texas.
Hasn't it changed a bit, Mark? Because even growing up, like, I still have the impression that Texas is just places where if you eat the burger within 30 minutes, you get it for free. It just
that's just sport.
So, but now it's more than that. It has that southern element, but it also has a lot of people are moving there that are very, wealthy and well-to-do and open-minded, and they like the groove of it. I think even Tim Ferriss is there, and what do you call him? Is Joe Rogan there now? Or
I think so. Yeah. A lot of people are moving there.
Yeah,
including Paper Tuesdays, maybe soon. But, apparently, I read some mad stat once that there was more tigers privately owned in Texas than there was wild tigers in India. Privately owned, like pets, like tigers.
Would you ever like to go to America?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'd love to live there. I think you could, couldn't you? You could get that visa with your degree.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think you have to have like a 4-year college degree or something to live there. But yeah, I'd love to live there.
Yeah.
But one place I would have liked to live was Los Angeles, but apparently there's like really bad homeless problem there, so I probably wouldn't live there. I'd like to live in like Montana or somewhere where there's bears. I'd like a threat outside.
Yeah, life is too easy.
Life is too easy here. Yeah. I'd like to have something to contend with every day. Like going out to your car, you'd have to sprint in case something catches you. And then once you're in the car, you're sort of safe till you get to work and need to sprint inside.
And are you surprised they've reopened?
Yeah, well, yes and no. Like, it's Texas. If anywhere is going to do it first, it's going to be Texas. And then maybe Cork. Maybe Cloney is next. But, if they can do it, like, is that going to be a marker then to everyone? Like, Texas is doing okay and they reopened. Are we going to follow suit? Like, restrictions are opening on the 6th of April. But what restrictions are lifting on the 6th of April? Like, our gym's going to reopen? Are, like, sports clubs going to reopen? Is it pubs? Probably won't. Like, restaurants? Are they going to say on the 6th of April, like, okay, now we can have takeaway fucking food again, or like something stupid like that? I don't know, but I'm moving to Texas anyway, so we got that from that.
Okay, fair enough. What else we got here? We go one more. The money flower on Snapchat, Mark. This might tee us up nicely to our guest.
Yes. So, have you seen the money flower on Snapchat?
No. Well, I saw a graphic of it, so I get the impression you give money to someone.
You give money to someone, right? And there's this flower, and there's all these different. There's like an outer layer, an inner layer, and then a center layer. There might be an extra layer in there. I'm not sure, but you pay, I think it's €150, and you get your name on the outer layer. And then for when that outer layer gets full, the person in the middle gets $1,000. And then the more space comes on the outside, and everyone else moves in one closer to the center. Right. So with the more 150s go in, they get the pot.
Why
is right, and people do it. I don't like. I was trying to find out. I generally put that question out on the Instagram to find out if anyone has been paid by this. And now people came back with some smart answers, but like there's no one has actually said they got paid by it. But I've seen a few people putting on their stories, like people putting on their stories, so people will donate to the same flower because it's in their interest that people donate to it, because so they'll go closer to the center. And then when they get to the center, they get their $1,000, and more people move into the outside. Like, it's a gamble. Like, it's €150.
Yeah.
For $1,000 back. Like, I can see why people would do it, but I can't see why I would do it.
Yeah. It's gas. Yeah.
People will do anything to not work. Michael, would you like to introduce our guest today?
Yeah, so our guest today is investor guru and Liz Gray investing manager of sorts, Calum Nolan. Calum, nice to have you on the show. How are you keeping?
Thanks, Calum.
Not too bad. How are you getting on yourselves?
We're great, yeah. Tell us, how do you get into the investing game?
I suppose I'll start at the beginning. The first time I looked at investing myself was around 2 years ago. I remember I was in Spain. I was listening to a podcast by, do you know Stephen Bartlett? He's the CEO of Social Chain. So you've probably seen a lot about social media management, social media advertising over the last while. So Stephen Bartlett was really one of the big guys in this. He'd been in it about 6-7 years. And he's the CEO of a company called Social Chain. And I was listening to him on a podcast, and he'd said they were merging with this company in Germany. I tried to look them up. I can't remember them for the life of me, but I looked it up anyway on the end of that podcast, and it was about $4 a share. And I was like, geez, like, that's not bad. Like, I might buy a few of these, but obviously, hindsight's 2020, never did. And then that was, I think it was on a Friday or something. But anyway, the market opened on the Monday and the share shot up to $18 a share immediately after he had said he was merging with that company. So I suppose it was from then I started trying to kind of look at investing. And like, it had always been something I'd been interested in. You always kind of hear it from some people like, oh, such and such bought this stock and they made X amount of money. But that was the first time I'd ever really kind of heard or seen something for myself and thought maybe this would be a good idea, a good place to put some money. But then obviously didn't take action on it, and then kind of followed along on the sidelines for another while. And then, then the second time that actually got me into investing was this year in March. So in March, I started a new job with an American company. And as part of the starting bonus, you got shares in the company. So you got 5,000 American dollars worth of the shares that you get to invest after you pass your probation. And I was coming up to pass my probation then in around August, just gone. and I'd made about $3,000 extra in 6 months by doing nothing. And I'd always watch people on YouTube like Graham Stephan, if you ever looked at him, or a guy, Financial Jeremy. These are all really good guys for if you're interested in investing. And it just seemed like there was so much to do. And I suppose a lot of limiting beliefs as well. It's like, how would I pick stocks? Whenever you think of stocks as a beginner, you think, there's lads on Wall Street. Like how could I know what they don't know? And they'll be quicker than me and this, that, and the other. But I suppose at the beginning, yeah, a lot of limiting beliefs, and then just signs, I suppose, that I could do it myself. And I'd seen like those two big jumps, and then I just started getting into it myself. Yeah, learning as much as I could, and then practicing on the demo account before setting up my own account. It was probably a bit long-winded, but that's probably how I got into
Well,
it.
it's necessary because I don't know, Mark, if you're like me, but like I just it's kind of gone over my head a little bit anyway. Certainly, especially when you look at GameStop and Shorten and all this, it's just it's a long way from the credit union savings account. That's all I say. What do you make of it all?
Yeah, abbreviations scare me. Like, there's a lot of abbreviations there. There's all like NASQB. It's gone up by 5.6%, and I was like, oh fuck, that's never going to mean anything to me. Like, but that's it. It's a bit daunting. Like, it is a bit daunting. That's why I sort of asked Calum to come on to sort of explain things, maybe help a few people that might be in my boat and are a bit scared by it. And it's also risk taking. And now, obviously, it can be calculated risk take, but like, there's that level of uncertainty that is just going to stop people staying away from it completely.
Yeah, I'll touch on there. Like you said, kind of the whole GameStop and AMC. Like I personally didn't touch them. Like, and I did put up a post about it. Like I wouldn't have considered either of them investing because there was no fundamentals change. There was no big catalyst. There was no reason for those stocks to do what they done apart from a thread on the internet to be like, let's all buy this because there's a short squeeze. Which, like I'm invested now a while, and I wouldn't ever even consider going near something like that. Like that's far too volatile, far too risky, and you might as well just like go down to Ladbrokes and put a bet on the football at the weekend before going and investing your money in something like that.
Right. So would you say I get the impression, even just from watching, I saw your YouTube channel there yesterday, and I get the impression that the hustler mindset is kind of at the root of what you're doing. So it's the idea that, okay, I don't really know a whole lot at the start, but that doesn't mean that I can't just work and understand it and become more fluent in it.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like I think it's just getting rid of the limiting beliefs and just, like actually getting into something and doing it instead of always saying how you will do it. Because for me personally, the best way to do something or learn something is to really get your hands dirty and get stuck in. So for me, it was just a matter of, like I'd sat on the sidelines long enough, seeing what was possible and never really got involved. And then I got to a stage where I was like, do you know what? I'm going to kick myself in 10, 20 years if I just keep saying, what ifs.
And can I ask what makes you passionate about stocks? Like to me, they're numbers, and is it because that they're moving targets, or like what makes you pick up the phone and say, right, I'm going to record this video now about something that's changing and moving and people need to hear about it?
Yeah, that's a good point as well. So you're saying there kind of like the moving numbers and this, that, and the other. So that'll be really technical analysis. So I wouldn't invest on technical analysis because it kind of brings it back to the start as the guys on Wall Street, like these lads who have 10 computer screens and they're looking for all these, you hear all these buzzwords like moving average, bullhorn, triple up, down, all this kind of like that's all complete nonsense to me. If anyone could actually read the stock market, they'd be a billionaire and they wouldn't be working for a hedge fund on Wall Street. So I'd invest in a way I call it social arb investing. And if anyone wants to as well get more information after this, Dumb Money Live are a really good podcast who are social arb investors. So that's the kind of way I'd invest myself. So I'll give you an example. So Peloton, say last year since March went up about 200%. And there was no indicator that Peloton was going to do amazing. There was no technical analysis or breakout or all these buzzwords that it was going to do good. It was simply social arb. It was a social change and trend that gyms were going to be closed and people were going to start using Peloton's service and products. And that's the way I kind of invest, because in my mind, there's no way you're going to beat someone on the computer looking for tiny scales of margin, but to invest in companies that kind of, are going to have social changes and are going to change the world. So I wouldn't say like I'm not looking at stocks to invest in so much, but it's companies. So for example, like the market's been absolutely terrible this last week. You've probably seen that's all going down, but no fundamental of the company has changed, which is why you would never kind of sell at the minute when all these companies are down. For another example, a company I love, CCIV, they're merging with Lucid Motors, so they're going to be Tesla's biggest competitor. The CEO is the ex-head of engineering at Tesla, and that company went from $60 down to about $25 in the last week. And it's the biggest chunk in my portfolio, and it's gone down lots, but I haven't sold it because, nothing has changed. Just because there's a bit of a shake around in the market doesn't mean you should sell it, because the fundamentals haven't changed. The people running the company are still great people and have great ideas and a great business plan. So I'd very much say if you're looking to get started, don't go and always look for the best return, but invest in companies you like and that you use every day.
It's a long-term game sort of you're playing then. It's not
Yeah, 100%. Like whenever you kind of see stats, like, people lose money, like 90% of people lose money in the stock market. That's people who are trying to, get in and do like what happened with GameStop, like seeing something like that goes up 200 or 300% in a day. Like you'd be very lucky to get that over a year, and over a year of actively investing.
Yeah. So you're living kind of that's interesting though, because the way we've even discussed it on the pod before, I think Warren Buffett's quote that you should be you say greedy when
other people are being careful, and when other people are being the opposite, whatever that is.
Yeah,
so when people are being careful, you should be greedy, and when people are being greedy, you should be careful.
Yeah, exactly. And like even like in the last 3 weeks, I had the majority, I'd say about 40% of my portfolio in free funds. But then this week during this big dip, I've bought more of all the stocks that I believe in because they're at such a lower price.
Okay. Right. And right. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. So where does Liz Gray investing figure in this? How do you become a Liz Gray follower? Or
Oh, well, to be honest, Liz Gray is just a name I came up with to have the group, because I didn't want to have it. Like, obviously, it's under my own name, but in time, I'd love to get more like-minded people also as admins in the group, who could also kind of send out trades or recommend books and everything. And then the name Liz Gray came about because my granny lived in Liz Gray in Cavan, and then my other granny was called Elizabeth, so I put the Liz Gray. It's literally just a name to have everything to kind of, I suppose it's an online portfolio of, the beliefs and what we're buying, what we're selling. And ultimately I'd like to have it as more than just me one day. So I didn't want to have kind of a trading group just called Calum Nolan's Ideas About the Stock Market.
It sounds eloquent.
Liz Gray.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like the people see Wall Street or stocks as sort of shady, I think.
Yeah.
And it's like the Wolf of Wall Street film, and like it's just people trying to make quick money, quick buck fast, and it's all like, as your man says in the film, a fugazi, it's all sort of up here and it's not real, and like that's sort of the way I definitely would see it. And I think if you were to ask the average lay person who doesn't trade in stocks what stock trading is about, they're like, oh, they're cowboys, basically.
Yeah.
But with the way you've just explained it there is sort of what it actually is. It's not the film.
No, 100% not. But like as well, like, it's so much deeper as well than like if you were kind of the average Joe and you didn't want to do what I do and be looking at the stock market every single day, you could invest in something called an ETF. So that's an exchange traded fund. So have you heard of the S&P 500? So the S&P 500 is basically the Fortune 500 in America. It's the top 500 companies that are basically performing the best. There's a fund called the S&P 500. So it basically marks the 500 companies that are doing the best. Since 1970, when it's been created, it's had an average of about 11% return a year. But you can invest in this thing, this ETF, and say you put $100 in, 100 euros in, it will put an equal amount into each of the top 500 performing companies. And because it's an exchange traded fund, it will be managed for you. So say if you didn't want to go and invest in Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Tesla, you could invest in this one fund, and then it would equally diversify all your money across everything yourself. And you could basically invest in it and not look at it again, and it would hopefully grow on the average 11% a year for you.
Right.
That's very smart. But like, surely that affects competition, would it? Or would that affect the pricing of different stocks if you were to just say, okay, I sort of invest in everything. I invest in the best ones. Like, say you invest, was it the 11 best it goes to?
No, the 500.
500, and each goes equally into the 500.
Yeah, well, so the fund will be managed. So say Apple, Amazon, and Tesla may be doing the best. So they might be, say, 4% of the fund. And
Mm.
then a company like ExxonMobil might be 0.5% because they're not performing as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
And how does someone join your group? Do you send out a weekly newsletter, or like what do you do? Or
Yeah, so well, I basically send in like kind of my thoughts around the market. So I send in what I'm buying, why I'm buying it, ideally where I'd like the price to go, and if it reached a certain price where I'd kind of cut my losses and just say, okay, look, on to the next one. And then just send in some book recommendations. I've PDF'd a few books in, but it's basically just what I'm doing in the market, why I'm doing it, links to like what I'm investing in and why. It's definitely not something to blindly say, okay, I'm going to join the group and buy and sell exactly what he's buying, because ultimately, even if you made or lost money, you'd have absolutely no idea why it had happened. So you'd want to read up a bit on the company, I think, anyway. And then
yeah.
that's kind of the whole idea of it.
And how do you become a member?
Yeah, so you just join. There's a link on the Instagram, and then you join. So you join through the Telegram app, and then it's €20 a month.
Right.
Mm.
Very good.
And I tried, right? So
Yeah.
I tried to sign up last week and I created an eToro account. And at the minute, the minimum deposit you can put into an eToro account is $1,000. So
Yeah.
that's your minimum amount you can sort of gamble with at the minute. Now, Colin said that'd probably go down.
Well, I'd hope so. It brings it back to the beginning. Like they've made a huge barrier to entry, which I don't personally understand. I mean, it's all been at very funny timing. Like, people always talk about market manipulation, and it's hard to say, with eToro changing their minimum account to €1,000, and then trading 2 and 2 haven't actually been taking on clients since the whole GME to GameStop thing
Mm.
about 4 weeks ago, because so much people joined the app. Like in January, when GameStop had that massive run, trading 2 and 2 was the most downloaded app in the UK and Ireland. That
Right.
server was so bad that you couldn't actually get onto it. So people who had, were actively trading couldn't get into their accounts. So they had to put a hold until they'd upgrade their servers. But it all came at very interesting timing. But yeah, there's been a huge barrier to entry really from, I suppose, mid-February to get into the markets.
Yeah. I suppose the idea that you avoided the whole GameStop thing reflects how, you're not seeing this as a casino type thing, because that's kind of the way it has gone. But like how should how should it be? How should the stock markets, in an ideal way, do you think everyone should be interested, but everyone should be attuned to the stock markets? What do you think?
I wouldn't say everyone should do, like what I would do, like where you'd be quite active daily and weekly, be buying like maybe 3 or 5 holdings a week and looking to sell them. I'd say, the majority of people should be doing like what I talked about with a fund. And there's lots of funds. There's not just the one I talked about where it's the 500 best companies. Say if you said to yourself, okay, like marijuana is becoming decriminalized in the US, I think that's going to shoot those stocks up. You could buy a fund that say had the 50 best marijuana companies, and you could say, okay, I'm going to put money in here because I think that industry is going to grow. Or, in America, Joe Biden has just said he wants all school buses to be electrical vehicles by 2030. So you could say, okay, I want to buy a fund that has the top 30 companies that could possibly supply electric vehicle school buses. And you can put it in and then kind of not look at it that way. I don't think everyone should be actively looking at it. Well, I definitely think, like, if you're just putting money into your savings, it's really not going to do a whole lot for you. Whereas you could put it into a fund and, historically you do pretty all right out of it.
And do you think that's the reason why stocks have become so popular? Because the savings rates, you just don't get anything really. Well, it's
I,
pennies.
yeah, I definitely say it's an increase. Like, there's lots of factors that come into it. It's obviously savings aren't as attractive. A lot of people are moving to different places in the world now, and the money you could make off dividends or off capital gains in a stock account could support a lifestyle in a much cheaper country. There's many reasons, and obviously everything online, like GameStop as well. I mean, that's what shot up the downloads. If you see an average Joe making 500% on his money in a week, you're probably going to want to have a look at what he's doing as well.
Mm. Yeah.
And are they starting to regulate the market now? Is that what I heard, that like because of the GameStop situation, that some of the major sort of players in it are calling for regulation in terms of stocks and how they're traded?
Yeah, like there's always kind of talks about like what more could be done, but even when that whole GameStop thing happened, like a lot of the big retail brokers like Robinhood and Webull in America, they actually banned the trading of GameStop and AMC during that big bull run. So there was a lot of talk around, like, was that market manipulation from Wall Street because they're short squeezes? Like, because some of those funds lost millions upon millions of dollars during that week.
So like it is sort of, is it a free for all? Like I obviously don't know much about it, but is stock trading, is there a governing body of it, or is it sort of just whatever happens?
No, I think it's now don't quote me on it, but it's the SEC in America, I believe, is it? But like when you sign up to your account, you kind of give all your information, if that's what you're asking, like with your PPS number, so you can pay your tax and everything at the end of the year on your capital gains.
No, it's just sort of like in terms of the.
Well, like there was a video with Joe Rogan. I think you sent it to me a day after the GameStop thing, and it was a clip from the NBC, and I think the CEO of Nasdaq was on saying we need to. There has to be regulation, and the whole thing. Joe Rogan's point was this is the first time he's ever called for regulation. That that it kind of suits
Yeah, it was
him
when he was
that
winning.
It's regulated.
Yeah. When it was suiting him before when it wasn't regulated, and now that it doesn't suit him at the minute, he's calling for regulations that'll suit him.
Yeah, I well believe it. Yeah.
Right. Gosh, that's interesting though. So like you don't really have a vested interest anyway, or an interest really in the commentary around that. You're just going with your pursuits, your the companies that you said are that you identify with.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, like I have my kind of bucket of companies that I like, so I wouldn't spend too much time going and worrying about everything else. Like I have enough to be reading, hopefully, and looking up on to see what the companies I like are doing. But I mean, like there's always calls and there's lots of community forums even within Trading 212 on changes that should and need to happen. But it's kind of one of those things that you can read about it lots and what regulations might happen, but until you get a notification in your broker app telling you what regulation has changed, I don't think there's too much of a point getting too vested into it because it's not going to do a whole lot for it.
Okay, so if you're starting out, I could be speaking of it. I don't think, or actually, what do you think of crypto and Bitcoin?
It's definitely interesting, but it's not something I know enough about or understand enough about to put my money where my mouth is with it.
Yeah. So with this, if someone is looking to get into this game, you have to have a level head anyway. That's probably one aspect. What other aspects would you recommend, Calum?
I'd say, yeah, the main ones, like you said, would be being able to manage your emotions and then having patience with it, and then also not being greedy. Like I'd say one of the biggest reasons people would lose money in the stock market would be being greedy, whether that be whether you're up a certain amount of profit and you don't want to take it because it could go X amount more, or you're down a certain amount and you don't want to lose it because it could come back. Like they'd be probably be the three main I suppose factors you'd need getting yourself into the stock market.
Yeah.
And say someone was trying to list their podcast on the stock market for €50 a share, would you be interested in investing in that?
Which was it? Sorry.
If someone was to start trading their podcast on the stock market at €50 a share, would that be advisable?
Are you got like a platform or?
No, I'm only joking. We're going to list ourselves on the Nasdaq.
Over, I'll invest.
Like, thank you. That is a question, actually. How would you start that? Like, you obviously have to be like a public limited company, wouldn't it? You'd have to, yeah. So that's something to look at for the Patreon.
Yeah. Well, no, you'd either go through, so you go through an IPO, which will be an initial public offering. So that's kind of getting everything ready. And then that usually takes, I believe, 12 to 18 months. And then you can kind of get yourself listed on the market, set your price. And if people want to buy, they do. And if they don't, they don't. And then the other one, which you'll see a lot of in 2020, you might have heard another buzzword, SPAC. So that's a special purchase acquisition corporation. So a big one, Bill Ackman, you might have seen him. He was someone who shorted the S&P, that fund I was talking about in March, when it went down loads. But basically, a SPAC is you can have a holding company gone public, and then you can basically merge with another company to get them onto the market straight away. So that's something you might have seen of recently as well.
Right.
But that's all very very like intense. Definitely not for the first thing you'd want to be going and looking at. You definitely have a
merged with the Gory Guardian.
Yeah,
we could make something happen there, because we're currently outsourcing. Like, I know you were reading Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek. So we're looking at we've tried hiring Indians through Instagram in the past, and it hasn't really happened, but we're gonna get there someday.
Yeah, well, Calum, you actually mentioned how you had experience in this. You're a step ahead there with Upwork and the websites. Do you still do a bit of that? Just linking the right website creator with the right company that needs a good website?
I still do a little bit, yeah. I still have the people who came to me for the first few websites, and they might come to me when they need something done. But yeah, Upwork is a great resource for getting things done online.
Yeah, fair play, because it's not easy. Well, I tried a few. Tried to fix my. So Upwork is basically a platform where anyone can auction their skills for making a website.
It's a freelance
platform.
Sorry? It's a freelance platform, basically, yeah.
For making a website.
Yeah, so like that's the fellow, like the lads I was messaging for making a website could have been in India. They were in India.
Oh, you were on Upwork trying to hire people.
Yeah.
Oh. That's good. Yeah. No, look, maybe we can do something there. We'll get on Upwork.
Yeah. But like podcasts are a good way to get rid of. Dumb Money Pod is one you mentioned, is it?
Dumb Money Podcast is a great one, yeah. For beginners, Dumb Money Podcast and Financial Jeremy. If you look him up on YouTube, he's a great one. So he do daily or every other day videos on stocks he's looking at, and they're always fairly insightful.
Great.
And is stock the best thing to invest in, like, as opposed to, say, real estate?
I wouldn't say like you would do one or the other. Like, I suppose it would be mainly what you're interested in, but in an ideal world, hopefully both. I mean, depending on what you want. Like, even again, bringing it back to the stock market, you can invest in something called a REIT. So that's a real estate investment trust, and you could invest in, say, a company that owns properties that would pay you monthly for giving them money. So a big one is Realty Income. So that's about $60 a share. So if you buy a share of Realty Income, they'll pay you about 4% annually, and they'll give you that each month for giving them money to help them expand. So it's basically nearly like owning a rental income without a lot of the hassle.
Oh. And this is another random question. Like, would you be interested in certain? So you mentioned electric vehicles and Peloton, the fact of fitness. Like, are there other personal causes that you are interested in the stock market? Like, would you be, what grabs your interest?
I suppose it wouldn't be like really in the stock market. It would really be what's changing in the world. So, like, for example, like the electric buses. Like, I don't really care too much for electric cars or electric school buses, but because Joe Biden wants all the school buses to be electric vehicles by 2030, that would give me the interest to go, okay, what's maybe the 5 best companies who could provide this bus, and then potentially get the government contract. Because if that happens, then, you know, that stock would go mad. It's the same way you could say, you know, when we started to get vaccines rolled out, Moderna stock went up a lot because they're the people supplying the vaccine. Like, you weren't really investing in Moderna because you love what they do or you love the stock. It's because it's what they're going to change in the world, and that's why the stock price went up.
Okay.
So, like, gender fluid bathrooms and stuff like that, they're probably going to go up. Like, you look at like social trends and changes.
Exactly, yeah.
But you don't get invested in them, so to speak, as you just see the change and back it, support it with your pocket rather than support it with your mouth, as such, like, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like, if it's a good cause, like, I'm more than happy to say if it's a good cause or not, but like, I wouldn't be too worried. Like, the main aim of it is hopefully to turn a profit on it. So yeah, that would be what I'd be looking for.
Okay, cool.
That makes sense.
I learned a lot from this. Not more so just the mindset that you need to have,
the groundedness that can go with stock trading, as well as like the No, I learned a lot. That was very interesting. It sort of changed my perspective a good bit on stock trading. Yeah.
You can check yourself out on the YouTube. What's that? Calum Nolan or?
Just yeah, it's all Calum Nolan everywhere, and then the Instagram is just Liz Gray Investing, and that's really just to kind of document everything that's going on within the group, and then as well a bit of mindset, I suppose, on stuff going into the market. Like one thing I posted last week, whilst the markets were down a lot, and it was something I wanted to make a note of, was Amazon stock. So it was another note just to not sell when stuff was down if the fundamentals haven't changed. So Amazon, since it came onto the market, since it IPO'd, has been down 50% 4 times and down 90% once. And if you had invested, I have it wrote down here, if you'd invested $1,000 back in 1997 in Amazon and hadn't sold until this Friday, how much do you reckon you'd have?
Ooh.
100,000, I guess.
Yeah. 500,000.
You'd have 1.7 million.
Right.
And 6 girlfriends.
Yeah, that's kind of what I pose. It's just, I suppose, a bit of mindset and a bit of guidance for people who may be a bit newer as well, just to kind of know, some things don't sell when everything's red, or like Mark said, be greedy when people are fearful and fearful when people are greedy.
Thanks, Calum.
Cheers,
Appreciate
Calum.
that.
Thanks
Cheers.
a million for that.
Look after yourself.
Take care.
Bye bye.